Go. Hey, St. Martin's. I'm here with Deacon Russ Settles, and you probably read the notice above this video that Russ is going to be changing his ministry. Let's talk to each other now.
Okay. Good.
You came here a little over 9 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
We have been working together since for that at St. John's.
Mm-hmm.
You've been the deacon here. But a few years ago, something changed.
That it did.
You want to tell a story?
Yeah, sure. So actually, it was 10 years ago. So I was thinking, as I turned 60, I began to think that, I began to feel a pull away from work in the corporate world, in business and HR, consulting and technology, and knew that I wanted to do more in ministry. In fact, 25 years ago when I was ordained, that was my plan, to move through until toward the end of my career, and then try to work full time in ministry. So I came in and talked to you about chaplaincy. We sat down and talked. You were the first person I discussed this with, and so as part of my discernment, you were an integral part of that. You turned me on to Terry Volaton over at Mercy, who was a director of spiritual care and education at Mercy, and I went and spent some time with her, and she turned me on to Marion Thornberry, who I'd known back in the day when I was going through ordination. And Marion was running a unit of clinical pastoral education based at Mercy. And I was fortunate enough to get in there. 6 months into it, Josh, I was hooked. I mean, I knew this was where I was supposed to be.
Yeah, that's when I realized you were seriously mentally ill. Because you really wanted it. And I was like, nobody does more than 1 unit of CPE. How many units of CPE have you had?
5.
Okay.
5. I had to have 4.
Never heard of that.
You had to have 4 to be certified, board certified.
Just for everybody who's watching, in seminary, you take 1 unit of CPE, and that's usually enough to learn what you do.
You either get hooked or you just despise it, one of the two. And we represent both ends of that spectrum, I think.
Yes.
So what I learned in that first unit was that I wanted to do this work full time, but I also learned I had a lot of work ahead of me to be able to do it. Unbeknownst to me, there's a career path and an educational preparation path that's pretty arduous. So it involved me going to seminary, and I had to have an MDiv to be board certified, and you had to have 4 units of clinical pastoral education to be board certified. So that's when I launched it, and so graduated from seminary in 22. Was able to go to school throughout my entire seminary career, only being on campus for 3 weeks total, because COVID kept us off campus, and COVID kept me working at home. So I was working during the time I was going to seminary. So
you're working full time, and then you're doing full time low residency seminary.
No, I did 2 internships during that time, one of which was field ed for seminary. I didn't go into residency until right before I graduated. I went into residency in April, and I graduated in May.
Yeah. Okay. And you went to seminary. You earned an MDiv from Earlham, which is a Quaker institution up in Evanston.
It's in Richmond, Indiana.
Richmond, Indiana. I should know that
because
my wife was born there. But she only spent her first year of life there up in Richmond. So
don't blame her.
Yeah.
No offense to Richmond.
That's funny.
Yeah, I found that to be probably one of the best decisions I could have made. Not only for my own pastoral care preparation, but just for me as a Christian and as an Episcopalian. It really helped deepen my connection to the Episcopal Church, interestingly enough, because I was in a group of people that weren't Episcopalian. There were only 2 in my class, and most of the people there were Quakers, but there were people from different religions and obviously different denominations. So I learned in an environment that was far different than just my tradition.
Yeah, so normally you're when you're speaking with Anglicans or Episcopalians or even just liturgical Christians, there's a lot that's understood between you.
Yeah.
But if you're speaking to a non-liturgical tradition, especially one that's quiet, literally, you find you have to translate to them.
Yeah.
So you find your voice even more so. Right?
Yeah, I did, and you know how it is. I mean, as you prepare to graduate, there are a lot of times when you are kind of put into situations where you have to defend certain things. And I had to, I chose an interesting thing to defend. I chose Bishop Curry's line, "If it's not about love, it's not about God."
Oh, interesting.
And we had to go through a whole like 7 different ways of looking at that. That every week we had to write on that. So it was helpful to me to really get deep underneath that. So I found that it was more than just a saying and a slogan that sounded good. That it really was deeply ingrained in me and my theology.
Oh, like when you if it's not about love, it's not about God. That is deeply biblical. It's deeply theological. It's metaphysical.
Yep.
We're getting into why the universe was made.
Yep.
Like it's not just a bumper sticker.
That's right. That's right. And you just went through the litany of things I had to do to defend it. So it was beautiful. The thing that ties it together with my work in the hospital is that as an Episcopal clergyman and as a parish minister, you and I knew the people we walked into the room to see. We knew everything about them,
right.
Most everything about them. We knew what they believed in, at the very least. When you walk into a hospital room, you don't know who's on the other side of the door most of the time,
right.
But you know that you're there to provide care to everyone. So the other thing that the Quaker seminary education did for me is it really helped me understand more broadly how to minister to people of different faiths and no faith at all, because all of that's represented in some way in their tradition.
Let's recap real quick.
Yeah.
So you come to St. Martin's 9 or so years ago, 10 years ago. You are working full time. You discern this call to the chaplaincy. It involves getting an MDiv. You're working. You're doing the MDiv stuff. You're doing further units of CPE. You finally make a monumental decision to stop working in the corporate world,
mm-hmm.
and you become a chaplain
mm-hmm.
in Charlotte Mecklenburg. For which group are you working?
Yeah, I work with Atrium.
Okay, Atrium.
Atrium Health.
Then like some other things happen where you kind of like you move around a couple different times to your current position. Trace that real quick.
Yeah. So once I graduated and then became board certified eligible, I went through the board certification process, which took a while. But once I was board certified, I was able then to actually apply for work. Up until that point, I was a resident, being paid as a resident, which isn't much, but I was able to do that. But what I did is just took the first opportunity that I could get, because chaplaincy jobs are extremely competitive and rare. And that first one was to work primarily with Atrium locations within the greater Charlotte market that were not acute care hospitals, but were more of the ambulatory settings, things like urgent cares and standalone emergency departments that we were assigned to. Then the opportunity was presented to me to take a full-time staff chaplain job at Caroline's Medical Center, which is what I wanted to do all along. And the only challenge that came with that was it was a weekend job. So I'm the weekend day chaplain at Caroline's Medical Center, and that means working both Saturday and Sunday. So as you know, we tried to see how it would go being here, working at the hospital and being here for worship services. It just made for a really, really long day for me.
Yeah.
But that was just part of the discernment process. It kind of said, you know what, this is a time when this is the change of the seasons for me in a way. As I was talking to Bishop Sam about it, it's not anything other really than an evolution of my ministry. It doesn't change who I am, as an Episcopalian or as a deacon.
Right. So I want to talk about discernment because we're going to break this into 2 parts. So, but I want to just say, like, it's been my privilege to watch your spiritual development and your discernment. To me, it's been an absolute straight line of what God does enkindled in you desire-wise to where you are now. Mm-hmm. However, I have an aerial view.
Yeah.
So it's actually, there's like a mountain in between, and you've done all of that, with the support of your wife and the bishop and hopefully us. But let's pause real quick. We're going to cut this and then talk about discernment.
Okay.
this real fast, just because it'll be